Diversity, equality and inclusion in the US and Black economic empowerment in South Africa have one important commonality, in that both cases barely touched the white boomers, but it landed like a hammer on the younger millennials and Generation Z. The single demographic that has been by far the most negatively affected by these racially discriminatory practices has been young white men. Men who were born the longest after the supposed historical injustices that they are now being punished for had even ended. You see, BEE in South Africa and even DEI in the US is often portrayed as an instrument of so-called restorative justice. The idea that perceived injustices of the past or even inequalities supposedly resulting from these past injustices can somehow be rectified by means of discrimination against the demographic group that critical theorists believe constitute the ultimate oppressor of all peoples, the white man. There is a distinct irony in all of this, however, in that the people who are being most affected by the systematic discrimination of BEE and DEI are the people who weren't even alive when these perceived oppressions, which led to the inequalities, took place. Let's look at the facts highlighting how young white people, especially millennials, and now also increasingly Gen Z, are the ones who have suffered the most under the atrocious economic regulations of both countries. When BEE was first introduced in South Africa in 2003, it created certain demographic targets that companies were expected to meet over time. But of course it didn't expect companies to transform overnight. During this transformative phase, white professionals who were already in senior roles were often grandfathered into the system. They retained their positions, their pensions, and the decades of accumulated capital. In many cases, companies relied on them for institutional knowledge, while ticking transformation boxes at the lower ends of the margins. Very few of these boomers were structurally displaced, with companies transforming largely by means of new hires from the bottom down. By the late 2000s and early 2010s, recruitment policies and bursary programs and graduate intakes, internships, scholarships, and even university admissions criteria had become explicitly anti-white, which meant that the first generation to experience BEE as a barrier at the very point of entry into the economy was not the older white workforce or the boomers that had been alive during the so-called oppressions, but the emerging one at the time, the millennials. Instead of competing on merit for apprenticeships, for trainee posts and graduate roles, they encountered a labor market in which opportunities were explicitly restricted on the basis of race alone, often advertised as BEE candidates only in South Africa. For many young white graduates, even highly qualified ones, doors simply never opened in the first place. And now, as Gen Z comes of age, that same barriers are being extended and intensified against them. In the United States, diversity, equity, and inclusion, also known as DEI, emerged as a dominant organizational and institutional framework for affirmative action in the 2010s. While it was not nearly as pervasive as BEE in South Africa, which also pertains to ownership, DEI policies emphasize race, ethnicity, gender identity, and other demographic characteristics in hiring, promotions, campus admissions, supplier diversity, and even organizational culture building, sometimes with targets, quotas, or preferential criteria for everyone except white people, of course. The effects of this can be seen in all the most woke institutions in the US, which aggressively promoted DEI. At Harvard University, for example, white men fell from 39% of tenure-track positions in the humanities in 2014 to a mere 18% in 2023. And since 2018, less than 15% of tenure-track assistant professors hired at Yale have been white American men. By the early 2020s, DEI was deeply embedded in corporate HR practices and public sector policy, affecting millennials and Gen Z far more than any other generation in the US. Back in 2016, the digital media startup Vox Media came under fire for hiring too many white men. And so by 2022, the company was just 37% male and 39% white, meaning that it would have had to hire virtually no young white males during those 6 years. In America, though, the political landscape shifted sharply with the return of Donald Trump to the presidency in 2025, and he started his second term in office with an aggressive rollback of DEI initiatives across the federal government and beyond into the private sector. After Donald Trump declared all forms of affirmative action unconstitutional and illegal, major US companies immediately started scaling back and abolishing their DEI programs. One of the reasons why restorative justice is such a flawed concept, and one of the main reasons it has been so openly rejected by the new US administration, is because it operates with a distinct moral contradiction. The people who are punished are not the people who supposedly benefited from the past, but rather their children and grandchildren. People who never participated, endorsed, or even lived through supposed historical injustices that are supposedly being corrected by BEE and DEI. While the older generation kept their jobs and titles and pensions, it was the young white men who hit the wall, shut out of opportunities, blocked at entry level, and forced to fight for a future that was always stacked against them. The fact of the matter is that when we speak about the victims of BEE and DEI, it is far more than any other group, young white men. Our generation, very much unlike our parents and grandparents, grew up in a world where no one is rooting for you, and the world is geared against you in every way. While boomers may have experienced BEE or DEI as nothing more than diversifying of their workplace, young white people, born long after apartheid ended in South Africa, and even longer after segregation ended in the US, were the ones who saw their opportunities taken away from them. For younger generations of white men in particular, BEE and DEI constituted a profound shift in how power and prestige is distributed. Given that we've had to grow up in a world that is actively discriminating against you, young whites have had to make a few hard choices. Either lie down and simply be trampled on your entire life, all for supposed injustices committed long before you were born, or adapt to a world that you know is geared against you in every way. In the case of young white males in particular, profound economic shifts have taken place, with many more young white males turning towards entrepreneurship by starting their own businesses. In the US, for example, Caucasian Americans are more than 2.5 times more likely to start up their own business than any other race are. In South Africa, the rate of self-employment and entrepreneurship amongst Caucasians is now one of the highest in the entire world, and the percentage of whites now running their own non-VAT registered small businesses has almost doubled between 2005 and 2023. On top of all of this, when even only taking into account early-stage entrepreneurial activity, the percentage of whites engaged in entrepreneurship is estimated to have already proportionally overtaken all other racial groups in this country by 2023, despite this group making up less than 5% of the entire population. Think for a moment how massive this is. White South Africans make up less than 1/10 of the population, meaning white males make up less than 5%, but now make up more than half of South Africa's entrepreneurs. As a result of being systematically discriminated against on top of being blamed for every past injustice that had taken place before they were even born, young white males have become far more right-wing than their parents. In fact, in the US today, only 18% of white men aged between 18 and 29 identify with the Democrat Party, less than any other age or demographic group alive today. Indeed, the number of young white men under 30 identifying as conservatives increased from 33% in 2014 to 38% in 2024, while those who identify as liberal decreased from 30% to 27% over the same period. This is unheard of for young people, because in the past, the youngest generation tended to be the most liberal of all generations. This is a complete inversion of everything that had been institutional knowledge for decades. Young people start out usually very liberal and become increasingly more conservative as they grow older, as they make more money, as they start running their own companies, as they progress in their jobs. But here we see young people starting off as the most conservative. In South Africa, a similar trend is visible, especially young Afrikaner men becoming more nationalist, something which is evidenced by the sheer number of young white men attending the celebrations of the ethno-cultural ceremonies such as the Day of the Val. In a recent video, we highlighted how well young white South Africans have done for themselves in terms of adapting to the hard realities of the racial discriminatory regime and even racial persecutions that we have had to endure our entire lives. Check out this full report by clicking on this video appearing on your screen right now. And remember to support our work by becoming a paid member of the Willem Petzer Group. In order to produce videos of this quality of research, a large team is working to make this a daily reality for you, the viewer. Simply follow the easy steps on the banner below to become a member and help me pay their salaries. Goodbye, and God bless every single one of you.